So unless you're my friend Short Fan Otaku, you may have noticed up until now that if you go on social media, the government isn't very interested at keeping the Texan border secure. There's a lot of migrants coming through, more so than probably any other administration. And there are videos on social media where you have individuals coming from China, individuals coming from the Middle East. There's absolutely no security check. There is absolutely no verification of any type of papers. Sure, Fan Otaku on Twitter thinks that this is the government being incredibly empathetic. They are showing a level of compassion and dedication towards their fellow man. There is nothing nefarious to be seen here. But anyway, right, so if you go on social media, there are videos where some of these refugees even get goodie bags with a smartphone and other stuff, and they all know where to go. Like, they all say, yeah, I came here, and now I'm going to Ohio, or I'm going to Michigan, or like they all seem to know exactly where to go, which means that they are being coordinated, which raises the question, like, who is funding for all of this? Because the government can't make money, like, it has to steal it from somewhere else. So either it's printing the money or it's taking it from the taxpayer. But the situation is quite dire. I mean, Texas seems to have had enough because Congress didn't say that they want to abolish the border, right? Like if Congress would say, okay, well, you know what, we just don't want a border anymore. Like, we just don't want it. It's fine. Everyone can come here, whatever, whatever. Like, we just don't care, right? If they would have done that, that would have been okay. This is the will of the people. But what they are doing is like, no, there is a border, we're securing it. But they're not doing a good job, they're letting everyone in. So, imagine if someone did that during the pandemic, when you had to make sure that everyone who sits at a McDonald's has identification. Like, they have QR codes and they show proof of vaccination. But the security guard at the entrance of the McDonald's would just let anyone in. It's like, come on, just, it's fine. It's like, oh, you lost your phone at home? Oh, I'm sure you're vaccinated. Come here. Right? If they would have done that, the media would freak out. It's like, oh my god, the security guard, he needs to be fired. We need to sack him. Probably some criminal thing. It's like, he is... I think in Romania it was like trying to prevent the combustion of diseases and something. Like, we actually had the law. It's like, if you're basically doing what that security guy did was criminal activity. So anyway, right? Like they understand the situation when it's applied in a different context. You just don't understand why people from Texas are upset that it's happening here. So the people of Texas, they sent their troopers, and as you can see, all of a sudden the border is secure. They installed barbed wire. No one is coming through anymore. And the people that do manage to come through, they're getting arrested, right? So normalcy was installed. Apparently, the federal government, with its vast resources, isn't able to do what Texas has been doing right now. So they immediately decided to sue Texas, right? Like, you can't do the job properly. Like, you need to let us to fuck it up. So the Supreme Court of the United States is basically saying that Texas is in the wrong. Which theoretically it is, right? Like, the job of securing the border belongs to the federal government, not to Texas. But the thing with Texas, and if you're an American, you probably don't know this, because in America, if you ask someone where they're from, like, they will automatically know that you're asking them, like, what state they're from. But if an American comes to Europe and you ask the American, where are you from? They will say, well, I'm from America. Except for Texas. Like, people from Texas, if you ask them where they're from, they will automatically say, I'm from Texas. I don't know why. But it's with no other American state have I noticed this. And I have a lot of American friends. And even on the internet, when I used to ask them, it's like, where are you from? And they'll be like, Texas. So that's why Texas is called the Rogue Star. They do things differently over there. And apparently they're doing it so differently that they're basically saying, I don't care what the Supreme Court says. We're not letting the feds get control of the border. So now they're in a pickle, because like I generally don't know what will happen. I literally do not know what will happen. There are reasons for them to behave this way. Take into account that Biden also neglected a Supreme Court order regarding the student loan debt forgiveness. Like, the Supreme Court said that it's unconstitutional. He did it anyway. So he basically treated the Supreme Court as an advisory board. In which case, it seems that Texas is using that in order to do their thing. it's almost like a story that I've already seen before. Like during the pandemic, they would say, oh, well, you can't say my body, my choice anymore. It's for the greater good, right? It's for the safety of others. Oh, naruhodo. So then Roe v. Wade, right? It's not my body, my choice anymore. It's for the safety of others. Oh, well, we agree. And this frustrated liberals a lot, which do not understand the concept of principles. Like a principle, you need to defend it even when you disagree with it, because otherwise, when the opponent does it, you can't complain. You can't complain. It's like, the thing with Texas is that they're also under emergency measures. Now, I'm not really familiar with Texas law, but when the government declares an emergency, I know they get more authorities to do stuff, right? It's kind of like during the pandemic. Again, I love the pandemic. It's such a great example. Like, a lot of people forget it, but I remember it quite vividly. During the pandemic, like, the Romanian government had the power to suppress the free press. In fact, they closed, I think it was 2 publications. They had online websites that were publishing stuff the government disagreed with, so they closed them down due to the fact that they had access to emergency measures. So I don't know the law in Texas, but I know that the government did declare an emergency over all of the migrants coming in. And that's that. Now the question is, like, why does the government want migrants? The dev does believe that is due to empathy and compassion. Interesting how there is no empathy and compassion for homeless people. Or orphans. It's selective compassion. I think we need to coin a term for it. Selective compassion. Selective empathy. Okay. So, like, a homeless person, what they need to do is to travel to Mexico and then try to cross the border illegally with the help of an NGO, and then maybe the government cares about it. Is that how it works? Someone should try it and tell me the results. The reality is, like, there are a couple of leftist politicians that they say why they want this to continue. Number one is receiving people from a culture that accepts government overreach, right? So, like, those people will spread their culture in the areas that they live in and make it more normalized and more okay for the government to grow and to overreach. Then you also have the electoral college votes, and I'm explaining this for Europeans and people who are outside of the US, because we're not really that familiar with the American election system, but we are bombarded with it every 4 years. Like, so the only thing that the television talks about, it's all over the internet. So as you can see, right, like it says here, how many electoral votes are needed to win, right? And you have, like, all of these states that have different numbers. Now the reason Texas has 38 and Wyoming has 3 is because there's a lot more people that live in Texas. And the way that it's calculated is through a census. And if you guys remember, the last time there was a census, the Democrats were freaking out because Trump wanted to add a question on the census, like, are you an American citizen? And they were, like, terrified that, well, actually, no, hold on, because, like, if you ask that question, it might dissuade people from responding to the census. Right, so this is, like, why they care, because, like, if you manage to increase the numbers in these blue states, right, especially, like, blue states that will always be blue, like, you're never going to expect California to be Republican again, right? You're never going to expect New York to vote red. So if their numbers just keep growing and growing, eventually it will be extremely difficult for Republicans to have their own president. Right? Because it's simply that just the math doesn't add up. Like most of these states are you have, like, the swing states that sometimes they differ. Like, sometimes they vote blue, sometimes they vote red. But you have other states that are, like, firmly solid, right? Like, California is always blue, New York is always blue, and you can expect Texas to always remain red, right? And as you can see, it's like the red states, they're very small, while the blue states, they just keep getting bigger and bigger. So like, this is another interest. Like why would they want mass migration? Well, why are they interested in it? It's like, well, it's all political. Like, it's all about how they can make more money, how they can make more power, right? Like, the corporations, they want cheap labor, so on and so forth. It's not compassion and empathy. Sure. Let me know what you guys think, though. And as usual, I will see you in the comment section. Take care.